we can have fun with it. We'll do this collaboratively. I've not done this collaboratively before. Someone give me like a cartoon character, one of your favorites or something you think would be fun to play with.
Elmo.
Elmo, okay.
It's not cartoon character, no. Pooh Bear.
Pooh Bear. Pooh. Let's do Winnie the Pooh.
Someone did that for...
a guy light Elmo on fire with a flamethrower?
Took me Elmo?
Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and find an image of Winnie the Pooh. Let's find a cute little picture of Winnie the Pooh. I want to find a full body one. That's not problem.
Ooh, that one.
That's hot. Think, there we go.
Think, because I got his full body. Oh, no, not that one. Yeah, you're right. This one. Yeah,
Yeah,
this
there
one.
we go.
So I'm going to go ahead and take this image, and I'm going to copy it and bring it in Illustrator. You can download it, embed it if you want better quality, but all I'm going to do is start to image trace this, so it doesn't have to be high quality. I'm going to go ahead and copy, bring it over my picture, and here's our, oh wow, that's big. There's our big old Winnie the Pooh. I'm going to change the artboard to make it bigger because when you do image trace, resolution does make a difference. So if you have a smaller resolution image versus a bigger resolution image, the image trace won't be as detailed with a smaller resolution. So I do want to make sure I keep the resolution as much as possible. So if you had like a 600 pixel version of a photo and you try to just make an image trace, it won't look the same as if you had a 20 megapixel version you were to trace it out. So a higher resolution does make a difference in terms of detail. So I've got my picture of Pooh. Let's have fun. How to do image trace, remember?
It's like object, image trace, I believe.
I object. Image trace. And we're going to go ahead and make it. Right now, though, I have my artboard selected. I'm like, wait. Select the picture. Rookie mistake. Go to Object, Image Trace, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to do Make. If I do Expand, it'll make the expansion and breaking of it at once. I'm going to hit Make. That will give me the option of two-tone. This is using the, I believe it's the Classic Essentials right now. The top section shows my tracing results. I can go ahead and I can pull out this menu and I can then redefine those settings. Right now it's just a two color. It's black or it's white. It's very cut and dry. I can then change that instead of being a tracing result to black and white. I could do a different level. I could do anywhere from high fidelity photo. That will take a little bit longer depending on your computer processing. What it'll do then is that it will create, if it doesn't glitch on me here, a outline, break the picture into multiple different patterns into vector image. So it's vectorizing my picture. Because it's a animated picture, it's not as detailed as, say, a photograph, all the subtle changes of a photograph, it actually looks pretty good. At a full high fidelity photo, I've got my colors at a high rate. I can move those colors up even a little bit more. That'll take some more processing, so I'm not going to do it. But as I change these settings, I can have more colors or less colors selected with my picture. And so I can go ahead and do some interesting things. I can change the paths, the corners. As these numbers go higher or lower, it gives me more detail, or less detail it's tracing. So it's creating a more precise vectorizing of my image, or a less precise, meaning more bigger blocks instead of more defined corners and shapes and pieces. So I can move it as I like. Let's go high fidelity photo. That actually looks pretty good. I'm surprised how good it looks like on a high fidelity photo. I'll do a low fidelity photo. It won't take as long because it's got less pieces. It's going to break it apart. But your computer will be maybe a little bit slowed down, a little bit boggy. And that still looks pretty good because it's a 2D picture over an actual photograph. Has a lot more detail. Looks pretty good. So it's done a pretty good job of breaking down Winnie the Pooh. I can then take my piece, and once I've got all my settings, I can change that and play with that for a while, and that is the fun part. And then I can expand it. Expand is what we did the other day. I hit expand, and now it's broken into all these little parts. You can actually see the little subtle paths. Each section is broken down into pieces. This is the low fidelity. The high fidelity would have had probably another 2 or 3 times more breakdowns. It's got, let me undo for a second. It's got, according to my numbers, if I look at my advanced, probably thousands of details in here. Okay, I wasn't thinking enough to redo the whole render. It's got 30,000 anchor points, 30,443. So it's broken up to quite a few different pieces, 1,850 different paths. Different sections it's broken this piece into. So now that it's got this, it's got, as default, you've got your piece. It makes it still grouped. I expanded it, but I need to either on the side ungroup it, or right-click and ungroup. Once it's ungrouped, each section is editable. Meaning I could go ahead and change the color with fill color or the live paint tool, which assignments due Friday night for live paint. I can go ahead and click different colors of the live paint, and I could start to paint some of these sections differently. If I wanted to mix up the color of his treehouse or den or wherever he's living. So I can also then take these sections and I could modify them, make them bigger, smaller, move them around, delete them, and take out different pieces. I could say, let's say I want to just isolate Pooh. Jacob, did you have a comment there?
No.
Okay, sorry. So I can start to isolate Pooh Bear. And I'm going to try to basically get him so it's nothing but him selected as best as I can. Slow piece of time without you having to painfully watch every move that I make. But I can start to isolate the guy. His arm there. But basically, by breaking it into pieces, then you can now take your section, and he's pretty much big chunks. So I have now my Pooh Bear that I can take. I can select him, and then I can do whatever I want. Resize him, shape him. The shape builder, I can start to combine limbs. If I wanted to, I could now take my selection of the leg. It has just his leg. I can go up to my puppet tool, which if you haven't checked your Marco Polos since Chapel, I did. Oh, I hate that one. Perspective grid. Don't want to open that up by mistake. I have actually added some Marco Polos for your assignments if you got them in already, so you have some critique via that way. And I'll go to my puppet tool, and I can start to then animate Pooh. He's got a line and his leg are together, so I actually have to select two there. So let me select not just the path of his leg. I can change it to have a different color path, but I have to select anything that's on here as well. The line, like there's several different lines on here. Holding Shift and adding to my selection. Now I have all of it, or much of his leg selected. I can start to use some anchor points, and I can start to animate as long as I get it all selected, part of his leg. I just use the selection tool and select much of his leg. That's the puppet tool. That's the puppet tool.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is
how. Yep. So I will.
you're not going to the menu.
No. I come up here. What I did, I need to select the leg. So whatever select, I go ahead and drag with my mouse tool, either the black or the white mouse. And select and drag a box. That will tell me it's going to select everything in that area that I select. So all that portion now is selected. Then all I have to do is go over to my puppet tool. Oh, I got too many objects in there. What did I do there? It was working before. I have some different options. Select my piece. And then the puppet tool allows me to create the joints. So I can start to animate Pooh. Animate parts of his. So you can take any picture, vectorize it, and then you could, change it, combine it. You can create a more detailed or less detailed version. You could then, using the shape builder, start to connect pieces together so they're together. You can group some of these together. The more precision you have, the more pieces you have to work with. So if you divide it into 30,000 pieces, it's harder than dividing it into 1,000 pieces because you have more pieces you have to work with the puzzle. So that's a debate of how complex should I make it. But I can start to select. I'm holding Shift or just drag, and I can select portions of that body. Modify it, change it. You could be more inclusive. Let's make Pooh Bear. I want the whole cell group now. Let me ungroup that. Let's make Pooh Bear a darker tone. So we can start to give him a little different version, be more inclusive. So you start to change skin tones. Chocolate bear. He did. So you can start to modify. Yes, Jacob.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Maybe you answered this and I just did not hear you or what.
Yeah, what you got? Shoot.
But I saw that when you made the image and you got all the little.
Yep.
Would it not be easier to just have them?
You could do that too. Yeah, that was another option I was going to show for more advanced people that know Photoshop. If you bring in your photo, but some people don't know Photoshop, bring in your photo and then just delete everything but Pooh. If you isolate them, then you can be more precise because you can isolate just him by cutting out everything that's not him in Photoshop. That's another way. Yep. So then you basically bring in a transparent poo, where it's just poo and there's nothing else around him, because you wouldn't just erased him in Photoshop. If you know Photoshop, that would be maybe an easier way to do it.
Okay.
If you don't know Photoshop, I don't want to confuse people. We've only been teaching InDesign, but that would be another way. Yes, good, good. I wasn't to show that way, but that would be another way if you just open up your layer. Cut them out, do it from there.
Would that be acceptable?
What homework?
Are we doing any of them using this?
Well, for the live paint tool, you'll find something, and then you'll create it. Then you can use the live paint tool, and you can start to create. Live paint tool, select whatever you have, and then you can start to paint poo. Different versions here. Do it live paint bucket tool, so that's an option as well. Because you have parts of them selected.
Wells have different
Breaking it into pieces.
breaking in pieces, maybe have different same as the picture.
Yep. Make it look different. So I want to see your source image. So whatever your source image is, I want to see your original piece. You can just save that as a file and put it outside the artboard. Put that in here. So if you have like the poo boy picture, you could copy that, paste it in here, and then I can see this is what you originally had to work with, and this is what you came up with. It doesn't have to be poo bear by any means. It could be a really complex paint by numbers that you find, a coloring book style, and you colorize it. That would be totally fine as well. Good. So finding an art, breaking it up, doing some cool things with it. Going a little deeper into what the image trace tool can give you. Someone give me, what?
Green. What?
I was thinking of color. I was thinking of person. Someone give me a person. Pretty.
Barack Obama.
We'll go Obama. That sounds good.
That sounds
So.
okay.
All right, so let's bring in a picture. This one, I'm looking here for simplicity. Just the edit. This background is pretty clean. It's got a white background, so I could isolate his head, his body pretty good. So let's bring in a picture. Copy that in. Let's just create a new file so I get away from poo. Again, create the artboard larger so I have my more resolution image. The higher resolution image does make a difference. So if you see a 300 pixel compared to a 1200 pixel, I would choose the 1200 pixel. You'll have better quality. I've got Barack on here, got my piece, image trace, object, image trace. Just do make, not expand, because I don't want to do anything more than, I want to do it differently. I'm going to go ahead and do my tracing results and do like a low fidelity image. Well, let's do, you can change how many colors, and it has the precise, let's do 16 colors, a little more, 16 colors. A little less intense. The less colors, the less precision, which does make it easier to work with. If I wanted, I could go and delete the flag in the background in Photoshop, bring it in. That actually looks kind of cool, kind of a blocky term. There was the one poster that of Obama's, it wasn't him, but his team in his 2008 campaign has this blocking one. It's something like this. They break it into 5-6 pieces, and they kind of have that, you've art pieced that image. So you break it into, say, 6 colors. That might be a little bit too, not enough. We'll see how that breaks up.
Just colorize it red, white, and blue.
And boom, then you have it broken up. And you can start to, once you have, let's go a little more now. Let's go with 16 colors, just a little more precision. But controlling that amount of color, the amount of precision on the corners, the paths, you can control how accurate that selection. That looks like, you can recognize it as him pretty easily. I'm going to expand it, go ahead and ungroup it, and I can start to break apart different things. Like I see, like my style here. This is just picking something collectively as a part. I'm starting to paint this as a red, white, and blue principle. So I go to my fill color. Let's do a blue. Let's do a white. Do a red. I can start to kind of play with that color tone through here. Patriotism in the piece. Something, you can do whatever you want. Delete the flag looks kind of weird as that section. I can delete parts of that piece. But once I have him, you can do all kinds of things with that piece. Now he's vectored. This could be the size of Texas because it's now vectorized. Now, is it able to take like a perfect photo and just like make any photo blown up, like steal a little bitty image and blow it up? Not exactly. It's still not going to be that precise, but it does a pretty good job of making an artistic image. You could take a photograph here, a simple portrait, and you can now give them a cartoony character, a little more cartoony, sketched, art painting-like than like a traditional photograph. So then you could come up with your piece, and then you could, let me just isolate so it's just him. Oh, and because of the clean background, that cleaned out pretty well. I don't have to bring it to Photoshop and do some touch up. So now I have him selected. I could go ahead and I could group them back together. I could come into my puppet tool, and I can put points onto him. He's got points for his eyes, his ears, his mouth, his nose. Give him a neck. Give him a spine if you really ever had one. I don't know, but we'll give him a spine. So, and work from there. And once I have the different points, then I can start to, wiggle his nose, wiggle his ears, move his head around a little bit. The more points I have, the more precision I can start to then modify that piece. So you can use it for shaping, animating. I could combine some of these pieces because I have some of these, like it's different skin tones. You can kind of see this blockiness. I could then combine, let me ungroup it again. I can start to combine several of these lines. I have two selected. I'm going to go to my shape builder. Where's my shape builder again? It's here. Start to combine some. So I've combined shapes. So it like takes different levels of his hair or his skin has different tones. Use my shape builder. And I can start to draw them so then it becomes kind of that blocky tone. So if you want to combine, many pieces, select several of them, use the shape builder to combine kind of a different grading piece. Now this starts to look like he has like skin cancer or something, but you can create that version of what you want to do with it. To create this artsy style. You can create a gradient in there. You can take a fill. Once it's a vector piece, you can give it a pattern, a shape. Go to your libraries, give it a, let's do something like a skin tone or patterns, nature, animal skins. You can start to have, that looks really weird. That's not really working for us. But you can do all kinds of different pieces with your chunk. You give them kind of an interesting mask style. So taking an image, artwork, breaking it into pieces, dissecting it, let all the formaldehyde and all the stinky chemicals, and doing science lab dissection now right in the computer. So lots of things you can start to combine, modify, tweak, texturize, pattern, take your own portrait, have fun with it, create kind of this cartoony version. Using the image trace, using your live paint bucket, you can go and toggle through your paints quickly with the live paint tool and select your different paints as well. Questions?
In the beginning, we go up to the top and we
File,
and then
new, create your new piece. Yep.
and
And then just paste in your photo.
then you went to place.
Yep. I just did copy paste. I took the picture and I just copied it and pasted it right in here. Control C, Control V. You could place it in if you download the image. You could place it in from a download. Good. Any other questions? This is good. This is complex image trace. Don't think I have these tools. How can I use them? How can I create art? How can I create something fun? Matt.
So once you do the first step, how are you going to get the things so they're individual? So you do the first step.
Yep. Did you expand it? You did the image trace and the expanding.
Right.
Then you have to right-click on it and ungroup, or the bottom has a section to ungroup because it's all grouped together. So they're individual pieces that are one big block group. Ungroup the group, and then you can click away and then reselect each individual piece and modify that piece, or join those pieces or whatever, or delete those pieces or whatever you want to do. There was one I did, if I can find it. I think I have it in my photo here.